Okay, I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and open us in prayer, and maybe that will help get us together. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for what you're doing in the life of Trinity. We're, again, so grateful for this building that you've provided. Thank you for the work that's gone in so far and the work that will continue to be done. Thank you most of all for the generosity of our people, and we look forward to getting an update on everything that's taking place today and hearing suggestions from people. So we ask your blessings on this time together. It's in Christ's name, amen. Okay, so tonight we're going to get just a quick update on where we are in the building and the capital campaign, etc. And then Susan, this will be round two for Susan to solicit suggestions and feedback on thoughts pertaining to design and what the building ultimately will look like. So with that, I'm going to ask Lee to come up and give an update on the capital campaign.
We got slides up there? Oh, still working on slides. All right. Well, I will tell you what will be on the slide. It'll be a lovely picture of the building like this. So really, I think the last time we reported publicly on the capital campaign and where we were, I think we were at about 4.7 right before Christmas or right around Christmas. And so far, we've had 129 pledges, and we're at $5,071,407. So that's very encouraging. Yay! That's very encouraging. And so sort of where we are on that, it's hard to define when you're sort of putting a stake in the ground for phase one, the initial phase of a capital campaign. This will go on for 3 years. As folks join the church, we'll ask them to consider participating. And so we're continuing to visit with folks, but it's a much lower pace now, right? If you've been visited with and have not turned in a campaign a card, and you still like to do that, we'd love for you to do that, of course. But we're going to try to, as you'll see in the timeline in a minute, when we start working with banks and financing, how much we have received in pledges matters. So if you still would like to make a pledge and get that in, especially before we visit our bank financing, you'll see the timeline on that in a minute. That's really important. So we're going to probably declare at the end of February the initial phase is done, but we'll continue to raise money as new folks come into the church and into our circle in the coming days. And we have a few folks outside the church we still want to call on that we think may contribute. So it's very encouraging. We've received to date of that $5,071,000, $2,132,530. So that's all very, very encouraging. If you had told me that's where we'd end up in September when we kind of got started with all this, I would have been floored. And so I still am. I'm very thankful for everybody's participation and most of all for God's provision and the way that it continues to feel like the wind is in the sails on this project. So we're thankful.
And actually, because of where we are from a fundraising standpoint, the committee is pushing forward to do the full renovation, like the whole enchilada, if you remember those slides. That because we want the construction crew, once they're in, to do the whole thing. So we're really excited about that. There is a timeline, but it doesn't look like it's going to show up. That we're getting close to finishing the plans and the design. This meeting, following the one from 2 weeks ago, and then meetings that Fred and Susan are going to have with the design committee this coming week will allow him to finish the plans and designs. They're already in conversations with the contractor, and hopefully before too long, within the next month or so, can get the permit process started. That could be something that takes a while. So if you want something to pray about the permitting process. And then the financing, will arrange that to get to banks to refinance the seller note. Probably not until the construction budget is complete and finalized, which probably won't be till the end of April. But then we'll be able to have that financing done by the 1st of June. Hopefully the construction in earnest will start June 1. There may be some things we can do prior to that. We're still targeting to be in the building and operating out of the building by the end of the year. So that's the other thing you can be in prayer about. So with that, Susan, you want to come up and...
Thank y'all so much. And thank y'all up top for trying to get the slides working. We've been just having a lot of technical difficulties today. So this portion, if you were here a couple of weeks ago, we did this for the kids and nursery zones and then the worship zone. But tonight we're going to focus also on the family zone, which is that basement bottom level. So we are going to cover the kids zone again, just because that's such an important piece, and we figured a lot of parents would be here when Sunday school's happening. So we'll talk about that briefly, but really want to focus more tonight on the family zone. So before I get started, I want to just put before us the mission statement of Trinity, because that helps me kind of, okay, now what are we doing again? You know, because you can get so caught up in different things that I feel like if we're focused on the mission statement, we're all on the same page and we're all going to the same horizon. So Trinity exists to embrace, embody, and extend the redemptive message of Jesus to the people and places of Fort Worth and beyond. So if you have that handout, you'll see that, plus our core commitments. It's a gospel-centered church committed to following Jesus by worshiping God together through historic liturgy that is rich, accessible, and emotionally honest, striving to know and be known in our life together, engaging in formative spiritual practices, extending the welcome of the gospel in word and deed, and serving our city. So with that kind of in our forefront of our minds, I want to talk, okay, what do we want our building to feel like? If you were here last time, you heard Fred say, there are things we just can't, the building is what it is. We are, in a way, bound by certain physical things, which in a way is great because it pushes creativity, and I've been part of a process where we built from scratch and you still had things you hit against. You still had reasons you couldn't do exactly what you wanted. So with that in mind, that we are talking about a building that already exists, I really would love for this to be participatory, and Alyssa is going to walk around with our mic, so just raise your hand. On the first slide, yay, thank you. You can, on your handout on page 2, you can see that this is how all the levels tie together. This is going to be what we're adding to the building. It's an elevator lobby that can go to all 3 floors and provide access, and it really makes the building work so that there's good flow. And so if you see that, we're going to first talk about the middle level, where the nursery is Trinity Kids, and basically the family zone. And then above that, on the 3rd level, is where we would also have older elementary kids, Sunday school classes, adult ed, things like that. So what I would love to ask, if you were not here already and gave input, because we did take those notes, and if you want to throw it out again, you can. What are things you really, really feel important, that are important for nursery? Think about dropping off, think about a new family coming for the first time. What are things that you feel like you want to make sure we hear you, the design team, on nursery? Sherry? Is that on? I'm not sure that's on. Okay, so what Sherry said, if you couldn't hear her, was she said if you're coming for the first time or you're walking in the building, for it to be very clear where you go, where you take your children. And then once they are there, that it's very secure. And, you know, I think last time we met, someone said, you know, the kids just kind of go, and you're hoping, you're kind of trusting everybody, but it's maybe it's signage, maybe it's just, it's very clear where your child is when you drop them off. Does that capture it? Okay. Anything else? Oh, yeah.
Hello.
Oh, there you go.
Well, this isn't exactly specifically nursery, but kind of in that area in general. I've been a member of several churches that had a children's library, well, just actually library. And that ended up being a fun maybe that's been thrown out there in the meeting last last time. I don't know, maybe I
Bring
missed
it, bring it.
But that ended up, and you see it here, but it ended up being a really fun place, and it's always really, and the church is still, it's a kind of buzzing little spot where lots of people come and they get books, and my kids and I would make it a little part of our destination on Wednesday Bible study, and then we go to the library and get some books, and it was just a really, that could be a neat location if there, were space for it to incorporate that in.
Okay, so a children's library that is focused, I'm assuming, on children's biblical literature type stuff.
Yeah. No, you check them out.
Check them out. So like a real library.
I do not want to be the librarian. I'm not volunteering.
But I see someone in the back who sounds excited. So, okay, so this also, think about this space not on Sundays. We're going to have this building all week. So what are some other things that you could see happening in this zone of that, either zone, the top layer, top floor, or this kind of medium, the medium, the middle of this building floor where the nursery usually is on Sunday? What else is going to be happening in our church life in the week?
Maybe play groups by age, some sort of thing like that, like a safe place that's not someone's house to go to.
Okay, so a place for moms to gather with their kids that could be safe as far as playing together, moms could visit, that kind of thing. Okay, great. What other types of outreach, other types of education? Just think of things you would maybe go, oh, why didn't we think of that when it comes to kids?
Thank you. One of the good things about this project, in addition to our excellent architectural and design capabilities in the front row, is working with Near Southside Incorporated, who can provide so many of the answers to the type of questions you just asked. How do we make this a living place? Placemaking is the term, because there are answers to that. There are organizations or people maybe outside of our church who would love and would work with the church to benefit from that type of a place. And I'm not talking about, running a day school or day nursery or anything like that, but there will be others which they know, which Near Southside, I worked with Mike Brennan starting 19 years ago on renovation and rehabilitation of places. So I certainly encourage us to continue working with Near Southside Incorporated just for those type of questions. They will know the answers. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Harold. And just to that point, Meredith Latimer has a team that their goal is to keep their eye on neighborhood engagement, is what it's called, so that they can be mindful on our behalf of, okay, as we shift toward that neighborhood, those kind of things. How can we help? What is needed? What's not needed? Are we going to be good neighbors? How can we start doing that even before we move in? So that's comes under that team. And I know that Brian's already joined the Near Southside Inc., where we can get emails and kind of be in the loop of information over there. So, Emily?
Just a youth space that is, I'm sure that's already on people's radar, but for me, those were very formative years of just a place with sofas and fun things to do and places to be a middle school and a high school kid that is at the church and still fun and, I don't know, a place you want to be.
Yeah.
And bring your friends.
So that's the great, I was just about to go, okay, what about youth? Where, nursery, we think little kids, but this zone also includes youth above Trinity kids age, third grade and up, on Sundays and not on Sundays. So be thinking about that, dropping off, picking up, what kind of activities, how are they going to live in that space? What would you want?
For treatment, when I think of youth, I think of
Okay, so youth having access to food, snacks, things like that. Okay, awesome. Okay, Sherry, can you make the run over? I think we're live streaming, not live, well, we're recording this so people can hear this later, so that's why I'm trying to capture it a little better than last time I did.
I don't know if we're ever planning this, but maybe a children's choir? So you'd need a piano or something so that you could do children's choir?
Okay, so a children's
Instruments.
choir, practice space, that kind of thing? Okay. Anything else having to do remotely with children, nursery, Trinity Kids to youth group? Okay, Alexis, I love it. This is so fun.
These are all just kind of small ideas, but also there's so much gear with babies, and we have so many people cycling through having young kids. It could be neat to have like a donation station or something like that that could even potentially serve some of the neighboring community.
Okay.
Clothing. I mean, I know we could partner with Pregnancy Lifeline. We could do, there would be creative ways, but just to have a location, because that gear is kind of big.
Yeah.
Cribs,
Yeah.
bassinets, rockers, all that stuff.
Okay.
Which is an idea.
So a way to collect and donate and just have that kind of capability as we serve and have interactions with other ministries even. Okay, we got two, one there, one there.
I'm sure this has been spoken to, but a cry room, but not only so you're not making noise in the sanctuary, but also that the sanctuary, it's piped in so you cannot miss the sermon. So
Yes, for sure.
I've seen it both ways, but
Yeah. So a cry room, a place a parent could take a child who's maybe making some noise. So, but the parent or adult could also hear what's going on in church.
When you were talking about making donations, things that we can hand down, that's another place where we might be making a connection with ministries that are already there, or maybe starting a ministry, but including some others where we could reach more people.
Gotcha. So more on that donation connection. Okay, I feel like here and maybe back there. Jennifer.
Nothing's been said about the playground as to what people want for the playground.
Okay, let's talk about playground. Okay, so if you look on the first floor classroom plan, you'll see the yellow is a hallway, and at the bottom of the page, that hallway leads outside to where right now there's a plan for a fenced playground. So obviously kids are different ages and stages. So for sure we want there to be a place for young kids to play, but how much is there a need for your older kids to play outside, youth, basketball, things like that? I want you to really think about what your child or the children you've known in churches before, where they would go between services, like when you're getting out of church and the parents are talking, things like that. So that's what I'm looking for, is what do you see for your child playground-wise, outside-wise?
I was thinking middle school and high school, they love having volleyball and basketball outside. Even when, for instance, if they were coming on a Wednesday night for Bible study, they love having volleyball and basketball before and after. Okay. So if there was a space for those, it's great for the kids, and it's also a great way for them to include their friends, because they can say, hey, we're going to Bible study, but we're playing volleyball first, or we're playing basketball first.
Okay, so you're saying, what age groups were those that you were mentioning?
Well, middle school and high school is what I've seen, where they used sand volleyball and then basketball court too.
Yeah.
And it really attracted a lot of kids who came just because they loved those activities, and then they got really involved in Bible study and the other activities.
Gotcha. So youth ages, don't forget them when you're thinking outdoor play, I guess is what I'm hearing. What are some other things? Harold, did you have something? Hold up, Mike.
youngest son is 46, so I'm a little cold in this nursery. We have a nice setup here where basically people with young children can drive up and park. I'm not sure that necessarily is going to be as easily done there. It's a design issue. If there were a way, like people with children could, maybe stop at a place and take the kids and then come on back and park their car. Again, I'm very cold on that topic. It's nice here. I don't know how it would be parking-wise at the new location.
So a need for a drop-off station for people who may not want to walk a far distance.
If that would be of value to people.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it'd be valuable, but, okay. Sorry, we want the mic to capture it.
Another idea is having, kind of to your point, having an indoor play area that is simple but kind of a safe destination. There's a church in Dallas that does that, and my friend doesn't even attend that church, and she said, let's meet there with our kids when we were little. And I was like, oh, okay. And we were able to just walk in and use their indoor play area. And that was nice it was an attraction, but it also was something that was available on Sundays, obviously, for the kids that went to those churches and went to that church and were in the Sunday school classes and so on. So having some sort of indoor structure would be really nice.
So do you mean they had something that was almost like an interior
Almost
covered
like
playground?
Chick-fil-A inside.
Oh, okay.
Like, not necessarily that, but having something structured, even if it were just like you crawl up and it's all made of wood. You crawl up here, you can go over here. Like, it was just something that kept kids busy, but it was inside.
Okay.
And that might not be appropriate for nursery, but for, the kindergartners and first graders and, because they are, whoever's volunteered in those age groups upstairs knows that
they're very active.
It's very active.
So would you say, what if we didn't have room for an interior playground, but the same concept, except you could use the outdoor playground?
Yeah.
Still, the big thing was that it was available for y'all to use, that was safe and available.
Fenced in, could be, benches, whatever.
Yeah, okay. Over there, okay.
Is the playground on the west side of the building? Is that right? So it will get I guess we'll be in the morning. I'm just thinking through heat when it's really hot.
Yeah.
If there's some sort of, I don't know if we need an artificial shade or something, or maybe it's just so hot you don't go out there, but that's what we do in the summer. Yeah. And then maybe just thinking through whatever the equipment is, stuff that doesn't burn you when you get on it.
Okay.
Welcome to Texas.
Yeah. So weather appropriate playground equipment, whether it's shade providing, heat, no excess heat.
And I know the playground gets tricky with indoor access, and there's some playgrounds that are available to the community here in Fort Worth, but you can't go to the bathroom anywhere. So I don't know if there's a way to make it where you're not in the building, but there is a bathroom accessible from the playground.
Yeah.
There's an age where peeing by a tree is not appropriate anymore. So just anyways, I know that opening the building during the week that's all complicated, but if there is some sort of bathroom situation or code that you get, I don't know how it works, but just an idea.
Bathroom's key for all things. Okay, anything else youth and down-oriented, classroom education, nursery, anything? These are great things. Oh, right here, Jennifer. Oh, no, I was pointing there.
I was thinking along the lines of outside, if there's space for picnic tables, I think sometimes that might be a nice area for the youth to go. Youth
kids want to be outside on nice days. Even if they're not going to play the basketball or the volleyball, sometimes it just feels good to be in the sunshine.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So outdoor seating for all ages. Andy, you got something?
I'm not exactly sure how this works, but just in terms of post-service access to the playground, if it is only through the nursery hallway, it feels like there may be like a security versus crowds kind of
Yes.
issue there, but maybe that's already handled.
That will be something we're talking about for sure. Okay, so now we're going to shift our attention to the beloved basement, AKA the family zone, AKA fellowship hall, AKA anything we can use it for. It is the most versatile space in the whole building. It is gorgeous already, but it is going to be even more gorgeous when Fred gets through with it. So turn to that page. It is the worst scanned job of all the plans. So it's kind of fuzzy. For some reason, it just didn't pick up on the scan very well. But this would, if you're looking at the top of your page on page 6, the top of it is I guess like a terrace, a plaza, where we're opening up that room to the outside, and then that whole space with the stage on the left of your page, and then there'll be more like an area where you'll have bathrooms, a bride's room, kitchen, coffee service, that kind of thing, okay? So what we want to think about is from children's choir programs to wedding receptions to during the week lunches for the neighborhood, anything you can think of, how do you want to use this space? I know that's a really huge can of worms.
I would think somewhere in the church, you would like to have a youth area, high school age, so forth, their retreat, their area, you know, where they can interact in the way that they do in a positive manner. So I defer to the designers, of course, but maybe in this totality of a family zone. Thank you.
Okay. So can youth use that? Could they use it as their special place? You know, is that have the capacity, and what do they need for those kind of things? PowerPoints, you know, what kind of equipment, what kind of, you know, do we want to have music performances, that kind of thing, youth-oriented stuff.
Okay, I'm just thinking practically, with all of the versatile needs or the versatile activities we're going to do, we need to have plenty of storage. And even if it's designated for different activities.
Okay.
So just plenty of storage.
Plenty of storage. Speaking of storage, what kind of furniture do you see in this space? Comfortable? A piano? Okay, so chairs that do not have our church name written on the back. I think there's a story there for people from Fort Worth Days. I think there are a lot of women who are going to be guarding those chairs when they arrive, just for that reason.
I don't know if this has ever been talked about, but maybe starting to host a BSF type thing. I know we have 2 gurus in our church that.
Okay, so hosting other ministries, not just Trinity Presbyterian, other ministries in town.
I mean, I kind of picture something like that down there with tables, right?
So tables, so you're picturing meals down there, gathering, circling up, okay?
Just to clarify, when you asked what kind of furniture, do you strictly mean like tables and chairs, dining room type furniture, or are you thinking outside the box on this?
I'm thinking, think about how we would use this space and what we would need to do that. Okay, for instance, say at first we may have to worship down there because the sanctuary, the pews take a year or something, okay? So that we're going to probably have rows of chairs without our name on the back, okay? But then, say we're in the sanctuary for the rest of the life of the building. How do we want to, when we walk in, that's going to be one of the first places people walk in to get coffee before they go up to the sanctuary or drop their kids off. What do you want it to feel like? And so what kind of furniture would that take?
I think it should feel like walking into somebody's living room. I
Okay.
think there should be comfortable seating, comfortable couches, maybe some pretty wingback chairs. I mean, if we're dreaming.
Dream, this is it, bring it.
There should be indoor plants, and there should be good art. Not something that we can pick up at like Home Goods. Not that there's anything wrong with Home Goods, but I've got a few of those. But it should be good art. You know, we should have beautiful things to look at. Okay. And the paint color that we choose should be soothing. And we should have, we should also have tables and chairs in the plaza space for people to enjoy their coffee outside.
Yes.
Okay, I'm done.
No, those are all good. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, yes. Okay, there are so many ways to flow through this building, and it depends on where you're going. So I'm going to first be a visitor, and I will probably go, oh my gosh, where do I go? I'm parking, and if I'm parking near the front of the building, I may just come straight up the steps. But that's probably the rarest entry to this building, because most of the people are going to come around and see the elevator lobby with the tower that kind of signals on the east side, come in here. And so I'll park, I'll walk in, and I'll go downstairs to the family zone area, the basement level, or I may just scoot on down to that plaza, because that's going to be so welcoming and gorgeous, and it beckons to come down there, and I'm going to get some coffee. And I'm going to greet and talk and visit and say, now where's Sunday school? And then somebody else will go up to the third floor, and that's the adult classroom. Or I'm going to worship, I'll go up the steps to the front of the sanctuary, to that front entrance of the building, or I'll come in through the other side. There are two different ways to get to the sanctuary. But if I'm the type that has a child, then I'm going to come in on the main level, I'm going to drop them off right there at the first corner of that wing where they'll check them in, and then I'm going to drop them off at their right door, and then I'm going to go downstairs and get coffee. Basically, I'm getting coffee at any moment during this experience, which is why that bottom level is where you're going to see everybody. And that's why we want it to feel like a living room and be very flexible. What am I missing, Fred? Anything? So, does that help you at all? Okay.
So could you walk us through on the slides, like, if you were downstairs getting coffee, then which direction are you going to get up into the main worship space?
Okay, Lee, do you mind flipping it to the slide of the family zone? There you go. Okay. Oh, I wish I had a pointer. Yes. They're,
Did you understand that? Okay, good. There you go. So the point is, the family zone becomes a major way to route traffic from the back of sanctuary back where the nursery and everything are. What's happening in this building is the elevator lobby that we've created to get access to the building that didn't exist. Goes all 3 levels. And that's kind of the heart of the entry. From there, you can go directly into the worship space if you want to go in the backside. You can go down to the family space and come in the front side of the worship space and get coffee and talk to people, get books, use the restroom, those kind of things at the same time. Or you can go up to the office if you want to. It all centers off of that one space. And when you come in that space, if you go to the left, you're in the educational area for the children on 2 levels. So the worship's on one side, that's on the other side, and the main vertical circulation takes you to all 3 levels. So you can go down to have coffee in the elevator. There's also going to be 2 accesses that you can go from the street through that courtyard that'll take you down right into the fellowship space on the bottom without going on the elevator. So the flow is really everywhere. It depends on your destination, and you as a church member will get used to the way you'll flow. It'll depend on whether you have kids, it'll depend on so many things.
Hey, Fred, when you put the slide for the main for that worship level, what Fred's saying is where the red collision pointer is, there's an elevator lobby there. It gives you both the vertical access and access from there to the horizontal access on each floor. So that's the organizing place, both vertically and horizontally, through the new elevator lobby that Fred's designed just above where that red pointer is right now.
Okay. I know it's really hard to follow all that. I wish I brought the 3D model because you can kind of take it apart. It helped me a lot. Okay, Jennifer.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about confusion of in and out of the building. So probably some signage as to what door to go to when you get inside, which way the nursery is, which way the fellowship hall is, some kind of signage.
Good
direction.
signage. That's good. Okay, Sherry, and then just the whole front row. Keep on going.
For that comfortable kind of sofa, couch, or, chair area, would we want some area rugs that could roll up, just help define and anchor those spots?
Okay, so just thinking of it as in conversation zones maybe, like almost like groupings of places for people to get to know each other or talk?
I don't know exactly how big that room is, but I mean, we're talking about a lot of different uses. I mean, because if you start putting couches and rugs in there, that's completely different than putting tables and chairs in there, which is completely different than hosting a wedding reception. So, like, my thought, based on how you're describing that room to be used on the most regular basis, is I'm seeing like cocktail tables and like not necessarily tables and chairs where people are just gonna like hang out, but where it's gonna be more of like a revolving, like mingling happy hour type feel, coffee shop type feel, whatever. But back to the original comment about storage, I mean, if you're gonna want couches and tables and chairs and wedding receptions and high school band concerts and whatever else, like that room better be either huge, or we better have giant storage for being able to literally store rooms and rooms of furniture.
Yeah, for sure. So what he's saying is for that flexible usage, we need flexible storage. And also, even as we talk about tables and chairs, I liked how you said it's more that coffee shop happy hour decorating vibe of well, first of all, those things are really movable. Like those little pub tables you can take down and store like that versus a huge sit-down table. So, and then storage. So that was really good.
So 2 thoughts on, so we mentioned using it as concerts or whatever. So portable stages in terms of furniture that we can take in and out and to go into our large storage closets. And then 2, going with the idea of making it welcoming and inviting in kind of a living room is maybe a fireplace, some sort of like a ventless fireplace. I was kind of thinking on the far bottom side of the screen, which is the side along Broadway, Baptist, and so you kind of walk in and across the room could be a fireplace that you could.
So an anchor, so continue with that living room vibe, the fireplace, is there a possibility for that? Portable staging also is what I heard you say? Okay. Okay, still talking about usage, what it feels like. Think about when you bring a visitor. But this is where I also want us to think about, remember our mission statement. Do we want it to be like for sure excellent and well done, but also do we want to be so fancy that our kids can't bring Kool-Aid in there, or a visitor we don't want a visitor to be intimidated. So weigh our mission statement for all of that is kind of in there, okay?
This is really not, it's kind of related to that, but I know Wayne and I were talking the other night just about the safety issue. Like protecting Brian, protecting us, and it's a reality these days. You know, we've got to have people in the sanctuary that are packing basically. But what is that going to look like in a building that big? And I'm sure y'all have discussed it. You don't even have to tell us, but just say, yeah, it's taken care of.
Yeah. Well, I will say this for sure. Our safety security person in our church is already there. He is meeting with Fred on this level of the planning already. So that is definitely on the radar. So thank you. I feel like there were a couple more hands right here.
One thing with regard to the Kool-Aid and that kind of thing is just, this is probably already decided, but just that the flooring would be like a nice slate or tile or something tasteful that could be a nice setting for a wedding reception, but also really functional and wear well over time.
So yeah, that's one of the great things is the Family Zone's flooring is terrazzo, which has already survived 100 years, so it's working great. So,
Love terrazzo
yeah,
tile.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
So I think this kind of follows that same idea. I'm of the opinion, and I could be alone here, but I'm of the opinion that I would want it to be a nice place that could host a wedding, but would also be comfortable for anyone who walks in who perhaps comes from a more humble background. And they can feel honored by the fact that it's nicer, but it's, you know, we're not intimidating, we're not being pretentious.
Okay.
So
great.
Whatever design-wise is the happy medium there. Yeah.
Great.
Back on the plaza space, how wide is it from the entry, kind of that curtain wall space, to the sidewalk? So, like, how wide is the plaza?
Wait, give Fred the mic if you don't mind, just so we can hear what he's saying, because that's important.
The plaza steps down from the sidewalk with a ramp, so we get handicap access to it. So the ramp runs against the sidewalk and down, and of course we're going down 7 feet, so that's a lot of ramp. But we still have 12 feet from the building to the ramp, where we'll have room for tables and outdoor events. And those windows that we have between there and the fellowship space can open up. So it can be an inside-outside space. So it can feel as big as you want it to.
Thanks. I knew he would answer that better than I would.
So my only thought on that is I mean, you can't predict this per se, but that's going to be a great place for kids to run around. And so, you know, that ramp and everything else, like, as many routes as possible for kids to play tag.
Yes, yes, yes. You're exactly right. Kids love ramps. Okay, we have about 5 more minutes before.
We don't have a lot of kids.
Speaking of our kids, they'll come end our meeting for us. I'm sorry, what? Okay, yeah. Okay. Anything else about this family zone, Harold?
Well, peripherally, Fred, is there anything like a commercial entrance to the building or designing one where, other than just
Deliveries? Well, that'll all come in through the elevator. It'll have to, because it'll depend on where it goes vertically. So we have a set of double doors. And, you know, we've got one limitation. We can't add on to the building. So the little piece we've added on is minimum, and that's all the fire marshal's going to let us do. So we'll have plenty of access points for deliveries.
Another thing that will be happening in this space, book table, sign up registration type thing. Like, think about the hub of the house, as far as like, that's where the kitchen is, yes, but also just, that's where like you sign up to do things or go buy a book or, you know, things like that. That's generally where that's going to be housed. Is there anything, we've heard about a children's library, which I'm thinking might be with the children's area, but is there anything else you think of when you think of, I want that in the hub of our church home? Okay. Okay, so library for adults. Anything else? Cynthia?
So I'm okay with the library being in the education wing too. I mean, wherever it needs to be. But are we also then gonna have space? I mean, I'm looking at that space and you're right. Okay, we're keeping a lot of stuff in there. You know, so I would definitely go want a book where you talk about buying a book. Not only like a little bookstore, but also someplace to store that bookstore, you know, when we're not there. And, or where would that be? Where would a good hub be to go and look at books or discuss books or, you know? So.
Okay, so more book hub discussion there. You do or don't? She would love that. She would love books to purchase. Okay. Okay, Lisa?
What about a prayer board for our missionaries that we support and the other ministries so that
Okay.
everybody can see?
So, way to highlight other ministries we have. What is going on in this church family that you may want to know about, may want access to, that kind of thing. Okay, now I'm just going to wrap this up. Mark, do you want to come up and talk about the slides that we did not have earlier, and then I'll let you close it out. Thank y'all very much. Also, just don't forget, we do have a building input form on the building update page on Church Center, so please feel free, if you think of anything, send us your pictures, your ideas there.
So that is the timeline that I tried to describe verbally, and you can see we should be completed with the design development within the next, probably the next month. Already having conversations with the contractor, and then we'll be finalizing his plans, a construction budget, which will allow us to then finalize the financing with the banks. Also concurrent, we'll be working on the permitting process. Would love to see construction start by 1st of June, and even if it's not 100% completed by the end of the year, we hope to be able to be in and by the end of the year. So we'll see. There's a lot that has to happen, but that's what we're praying for and shooting for. Then I think put on your calendar, and we'll send some more information out about this and what this will look like, but we're going to do a work day or work morning on Saturday, April 2nd. Probably mostly exterior, just clean up, rake, mow, things like that. There may be some inside things to do, but we'll see, but probably mostly outside. So we'll send more information as we get closer to that. And I think unless anyone has any questions, that should do it for today. Thank you all for being here. Let me close this. Father, thank you again for this exciting time in our church, for what you are doing in our midst. We pray for wisdom, and that we would be good stewards of this property that you've given us. And so please go before us, guide us and direct us in all the decisions that we make, that it be all for your glory and honor. We pray this in Christ's name. Amen. Thank you all.